Aloha everyone, it's Kona Raven again, and I have a new tutorial for you. So there was a request to make a tutorial on how to make these boxes that I made in this baby memory folio. The ones that house the pull-out photo mats. So here's the boxes that we'll be making today. And the second request was how to make the photo mats that have the pocket and also the journaling tag. So I'll be going over that also. So let's get started. Alright, so let's get started making the photo box. So first thing that you want to do is just get an A4 sheet of paper, put it on your scoreboard, and first thing you're gonna do is score it at 2 inches, and you're gonna determine how deep you want your box. I've decided that I want my box to be 1/2 inch deep, so then I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch. If for whatever reason I wanted to make it only 1/4 inch deep, then I would score it at 2 inches, and then I would score it at 2 1/4 inches. Okay, but for this tutorial I'm making it 1/2 inch deep. After you make those 2 score lines, you're gonna decide exactly how wide you want your box. So I've decided I'm going to make it wide enough to hold a 5 by 3 3/4 photo mat. So all I'm going to do is put my photo mat up against that score line, the interior one. I'm going to decide exactly where I'm going to score it. So I could either score it right on along the edge, or I've decided I'm going to go 1/16 of an inch wider than my actual photo mat so that it's not too tight. So I'm going to score it down the side there, and then from here I'm just going to score 1/2 inch over. Okay, so now I have 2 sides of my box that are 1/2 inch. So I know now that my photo mat is 3 3/4 in width. So let's do a little math here. This is 2 inches wide, so I need this other flap to at least cover the other portion of this. And so I'm going to go from this score line. I'm not even going to try and count all those little lines. All I'm going to do is move it over to the 7 score line, and then I'm going to count from 7. Here's 1 inch, here is 3/4 inch, and then I'm going to add another 1/2 inch because that's going to overlap this edge here. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my A4 sheet of paper and I'm going to turn it portrait style. Now this is to determine how deep you want your photo mats to be in your box. So if you want your photo mat to be completely covered by your box, then you would butt it up against the edge of your paper here, or cardstock, excuse me, and then you would just score it there. I've decided that I want my photo mat to stick out a little bit from my box, and that's about 1 inch. And then I'm just going to score right below it. And then I'm going to score 1/2 inch below that score line, and then I'm going to score 1/2 inch below that score line. Okay, and that's determining exactly how deep my photo mat is going to go into that box, or how much is going to be sticking out. Okay, and essentially here are my score lines. Okay, now we're going to cut it. So we're going to cut this line here completely off. I'm going to cut on that score line and take that piece completely off. Okay, and then we're going to cut the very bottom score line like this. Okay, so this is what we've cut. Okay, we've cut the bottom portion off, and we've cut the side portion off. Okay, And now we're left with this piece here. And now we're going to cut this piece. So we are going to cut the inside score line all the way up to the top of this corner here. And then you're going to turn it and then cut it across this score line all the way to meet that same corner. And then you're going to do the same on this side. You're going to cut it up to the top of that corner there, turn it, and you're going to cut this score line to meet that corner. Okay, now let me put this down and show you exactly what you've cut. All right. So now, let's fold. So we're going to fold on each of those score lines, crease it, all right. So now, when you fold this flap over and this flap over, they overlap slightly, as you can see, by about 1/2 inch. So to adhere it, we're going to run tape or glue along the inside edge, and then we're just going to tape it over the top here. Now, what I do is I fold the bottom flap in so that I can create at least another side so that it lines up, and then I tape it. Sometimes it works, and there you go. Okay, so now I've created a box. Now for the bottom, okay, I don't like to tuck that on the inside because this lip right here will prevent the photo mats from sliding down easily. So what I'll do is I'll run a bead of glue along the bottom here. I'm using tape for time purposes. And then I'll stick my hand in to brace it, and then I'll glue. Okay? And then when you attach it to your folio, I would either glue all of this first or tape it, and then I stick my hand inside of it and set it where I want, and then press it down until it glues itself down. Okay? But if you want some kind of closure, then I suggest you create that beforehand, and I'll just use my scraps here. I'll just use my scraps and cut a piece. I'll cut that even shorter. All right, I'll score this piece at 1/2 inch because that's what is going to adhere to the bottom of it, and then another 1/2 inch. Okay, so I've scored this twice, and then I'm going to bend the bottom part, run a bead of glue like this, and then I'm going to find my center, and I'm just going to glue it to the bottom like this. Okay, so now I have a flap that goes over the top of it. And as you can see, a 1/2 inch deep or wide deep is actually quite a lot. You could fit maybe 10 photo mats in here easily, and which is great because then you have a lot of room for photos. I would suggest knowing exactly how many you're going to make first, so that you know you can do almost exact measurements. Because if you make it too loose and your photo mats don't fill the entire pouch, whatever you put inside of it, that if it doesn't fill it, you're going to end up crushing it. You know, the sides will get crushed and the top will get crushed. It's better to fill it all the way up, giving it just a little room for photos, to make room for photos when you put them in. All right, so that is just the photo box. Okay, so my second share is a really simple one. It was making the photo mats with the small pocket on the bottom and the journaling tags. This is a 6x4. I normally try to go either 1/4 to a 1/2 inch wider just so that I could see the decorative paper around it. So I'm going to go 4.5. I'm going to go 4.5 by 6.5. So there's 4.5. And this is 6.5. Okay, so I'm going to cut that. Actually, I'll cut it this way first. Okay. There's 2 ways that you can do this. So I know that this is 6.5 now. I cut it at 4.5 width and I scored it. So if you fold this over now, you can decide exactly how deep you want your pocket. So this is about 1.5 inches to 1 3/4. I don't want it to be that wide, so I'm going to cut it down to probably about 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so here's my folded flap. I don't know, and all I'm going to do is, I don't want to glue it on the sides. What I do is I grab tape and I run it smack dab down the middle on the score line so that it's half on top of the fold and half on top of the actual photo mat. Before I've even get to this part, I've already put my decorative paper on this large part here. And then I fold it over like this. Okay, and the reason why I don't glue the sides is because it makes it easier to stick your photos in as opposed to having the sides glued. Okay, and I do tape it and I don't glue it because the tape helps the picture to stay in once you've put it in. So you don't have to worry about your pictures slipping out because that tape that you ran down here is holding it in pretty tight. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Now the other way, if you wanted to do the other side, okay, you just get a piece of cardstock, you know, whatever size edge that you decide you want. So let's just say I want it to be this is about 1 inch, so I'm going to cut it to the same size as my photo mat. I'm going to do the same thing on here that I did when I fold it, which is run a line of tape down the bottom of it. And then I'm going to, again, you've already papered this section with decorative paper. And then you're just going to tape that, align it, and tape it on the bottom. And then now you have another pocket on the bottom here to do the same thing, which is stick a photo down in there and not have to worry about it falling out because there's tape holding it. So there you have it. There's the easy way of doing the whole pocket photo mats. All right, so if you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much for watching. Aloha!